Hello and welcome to the second part of the Deep Rising introductory training. In this video, I'll briefly just look at the user interface of Deep Rising FX and explain how it's organized. Okay. So after installing Deep Rising FX, it comes with a config file, and if you install the menu config file, you'll get something that looks like this. Okay. So Deep Rising is split into three main areas. So the interface actually is how Deep Rising works internally as well. So to begin with, at the top you've got the domain. Let me just open that. Now the domain represents every object and entity in your fluid simulation. So your emitters, your rigid objects, everything goes here, and filters, stuff like that. Okay. So I can just go through the menu. So if you go to edit, it will show you can add entities, add selected item to become entities, so like rigid objects and fluids. That's how you add them. You can remove and remove all, show fluid particles, collision, sample mesh, edit selected rigid objects, and save fluid state. Okay, that's the domain. It's very important. If you want to add something to the scene, you add it to the domain. Okay. Next, we've got the solver. Solvers, so are the things that actually simulate your simulation. And at the moment, in version 2.1, I believe 2.2.01, sorry, has three solvers at the moment. You've got the Euphoric solver, Proxima solver, and Arena solver. Now, Euphoric and Proxima are fluid solvers, and these two are SPH. So the smooth particle hydrodynamics in the previous video I talked about will affect these two solvers. We'll go into the grain solver later on, to be much later. Okay, so you got the domain. After you add things to the domain, you come here to set some settings, and when you hit the simulate button, it will simulate everything in your domain. Okay, once you simulate, once you've done that, it will catch, you can cache your particles off to file. And then depending on what you want to do with them, you can either view them as hypervoxels, but most of the time you'll be meshing them if you're using the Proxima or Euphoric solver. So to mesh them, you go to the meshing panel, and this will allow you to mesh stuff. So you can preview a mesh, and there's different two file formats, custom file format and OBJ. And at the moment, the main meshing method is OpenVDB. Okay. And then, of course, in the domain, and also the menu splits the most useful functions for the domain, solvers, and meshing, and just adds them to here for quick access, of course. Okay, in the next video, we'll actually do some simulation. I just wanted to introduce you to the user interface and explain the way it's actually organized. Oh, and before I forget, if you see this icon, this thunderbolt, that just represents the fluid cache. So if I just do remove all, I can just show you Deep Rising will just add it automatically. This is essential. You cannot simulate anything. You can simulate, but you won't be able to see anything without a fluid cache. You need to cache everything you simulate. That's what this is for. That's why it's there. And the mesh reference is just there to mesh stuff. So you can actually delete that, but Deep Rising will add it automatically. It's not important until you mesh stuff. The cache is always important. Without a cache, you can't view your simulations after they finish. Okay, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.